Welcome back. Tensions in the Middle East are rising even more following Iran's overnight attack against Israel. Meantime, the U.S. remains under a threat of potential terrorist attacks as President Biden has kept our southern border wide open. How worrisome is this now to have people from the Middle East cross our own border? Joining me now is Staff Lieutenant for Texas Highway Patrol, Lt Olivarez. Also with us is former Director of Special Operations at the DEA, Lt Maltz. Thank you both for being here. Lieutenant Olivarez, this threat against the U.S. is expanding even more now following Iran's full aerial attack against Israel. A clear response needed by the Biden White House would be to finally close the borders, but that doesn't seem to be happening. But until that happens, what else should the Biden administration be doing right now to protect the national security?
Well, good morning, John. Of course, that's one thing that we've been waiting for the last 3 years. What action is the federal government going to take? I mean, right now, we are at a more heightened alert than we've ever been before, ever since 9/11, and even more so now in the last 3 years because of this open border. If you look at the numbers, in the last 4 years, from 2021 to right now, there have been 362 suspected terrorists apprehended by U.S. Border Patrol out in the field, not taking into account those that have been apprehended at a port of entry. And you look at the previous 4 years from 2017, 2020, there was only 14. So the numbers speak for themselves. And right now, the federal government, because of their failed policies and their open border, have placed the safety and security of our country and the American people in great danger because of these threats, because we don't know who's coming across. And you've taken into account the gotaways, over 2 million known gotaways, and then you have the unknown gotaways. We don't know who's in the country right now. We've heard it from top officials, FBI director, even first responders that have been working along the border in the last 3 years, talking about these threats. This is a reality of the border situation. It's a reality when you have open borders. And right now, the federal government, they do have the authority to take action and to secure our border and to protect the interests of the American people.
Yeah, and we do know that members of Congress want to get this done, this aid package at least to Israel. Maybe they'll start talking about the southern border as part of that conversation as well. Derek, the president hasn't really publicly addressed the American people yet since this morning's attack, or last night's attack, overnight attack. He had a statement. That was about it. He vowed to, quote, that the U.S. will remain vigilant to all threats and will not hesitate to take any and all necessary action to protect our people. But do you think that Biden's his interest here is with the American people and the safety here? Because remember, he's the one that helped fund these attacks by Iran in the first place.
Right. The current administration has this don't warning. It's failed miserably. Just look what's going on. The world is in chaos right now. There's mixed messages from the administration. And what really troubles me is I was at a briefing by Director Wray about 2 weeks ago in Washington, D.C., where he talked about all these escalating threats around the world, and especially threats to the homeland by different actors like China, like ISIS, and all these other threat streams. But yet, the border's wide open. I actually want to ask the president a question. Are you talking to your FBI director? He's supposed to be the one that actually develops all this intelligence and provides it to the head of the government, which is the president, but yet we have a wide open border. Just look, we're looking at now 4,000 Chinese every month coming in illegally from the southwest border. They're setting up marijuana grow operations. Mm-hmm. They're killing our kids at record levels. They're picking up millions of dollars for the Mexican cartels all over this country. I mean, John, nobody with a brain can understand why this is happening to our country. The southwest border land encounters 223,000 a month for the first 6 months. So America right now has to wake up because every American is at risk. This is not a Republican or a Democratic issue. Like I say, it's not red or blue. It's red, white, and blue. Everyone's being impacted.
Yeah, and President unfreezing some of those funds over there for Iran. So it's directly contributing to these attacks. Lieutenant Olivarez, have you and your colleagues dealt with anyone illegal who actually was from the Middle East? And any objectives in your motion from your team here to prevent possible terrorists from unleashing another attack on the American people, given what's happened here in the last 24 hours?
We have, John, and we have, apprehended individuals that were being smuggled in vehicles. And that only tells you one thing, why would someone go to that extent to pay a drug cartel or to pay a smuggler, to pay the cartels to get someone across the border and then to get smuggled in a vehicle further into the interior? We have arrested individuals from Pakistan, Syria that were being smuggled in the trunks of cars. So that tells you one thing. Just think about how many more have gotten by law enforcement that are in the interior right now. that could potentially cause harm. And that's what worries me. I think that worries any other law enforcement official that works along the border and even in our country itself, that these threats are real. And the fact of the matter is, even if we have a change in leadership at the end of the year, we're going to have to play catch up. We're going to have to locate and find these individuals and remove them from the country. By that time, it could be too late. Now, I would hate to say that, but that is a reality of the situation right now because of these failed policies and the dangers that the federal government has placed us in right now.
So many gotaways. Derek, do you believe that there are many people, including military-age men, that are already in the country from the Middle East?
100%. I mean, look, the NYPD commissioner said recently, all the ghost criminals that are in the country, that's because we don't know who they are. Now, let's remember, when I was in the DEA, we had a very large-scale initiative against Hezbollah. We infiltrated Hezbollah's global drug trafficking and money laundering operations, and they worked very closely with the Mexican cartels. And that was several years ago. It's still happening. They work together. They share capabilities. But, John, one of the biggest things I want to say is that the bad guys in the world right now are not feeling any fear. There's not any pressure, and there's certainly no accountability. That's why America is becoming less safe. That's why our citizens need to be concerned. This is not just going after one particular group.
Right.
Everyone's at risk. Look at that massacre they had, and now overseas, and now Director Wray is basically saying an ISIS-K type of attack is realistic for this country.
All right. Well, we will continue to watch and see how this all plays out. We appreciate you both for coming on here and sharing your expertise. Staff Lieutenant Olivarez, as well as Derek Maltz, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good Sunday.
Thank you.